All right, so this video will focus primarily on creating lists. There's a couple of different options on how to make a new list. So we've established that lists are just a collection of other bits of data. And we talked a bit about why they're useful, but here's a quick example again in the slides. So imagine that we have 3 strings of to-dos, 3 things we need to do. Install Python, learn Python, and take a break. This is similar to the shopping cart example in that we could approximate a list using variables, but there's no ordering here. It's problematic, and they're not associated in any way. They're totally separate variables, even though we want them to be associated. We want an order. They're all part of our to-dos. So a list looks like this. The key syntax that we'll see all the time with lists are the square brackets, usually on the right side of the keyboard, above the return key, roughly. Don't hold me to it. So those are the key bits of information that tell Python this is a list. So tasks equals, that's just a regular variable declaration. But on the right side, these 2 brackets, and then inside, we separate the values by commas. And it happens that these 3 values are strings. They do not have to be the same. We could have a string, a number, a boolean, another string, and so on. Okay, so when we hit enter here, the tasks variable will store these 3 bits of information in the order that we add them in. So we have install Python, followed by learn Python, followed by take a break. Also, if we had them stored in variables as first task, second, and third task, we could also just create a new list using those variables. So we don't have to put strings in directly. We could use a variable that references a string and add that in. So let's quickly make a new list here. And I'm just going to call this demo list. And I'll just show you, we can put whatever we want. So the string A, 1, 45, true, a float, 6.777.7. There we go. And I'll hit enter. And if we look at demo list now, you can see those square brackets made it a list. And inside of it, we have these comma separated values of all different data types. Often you want the same data type in there because of the data you're working with. If it's in a list, it's usually pretty homogeneous. It's a list of names, a list of items, a list of numbers, but you don't have to abide by that. So the next thing that I'll show you, we've seen how to create a list, or one way to create it. What if we wanted to know how many items are in there, how many elements are in the list? So the first built-in function we'll see for lists is called len, stands for length, and we just pass in a list, and it will return to us the number of items in the list. So if I did len on demo list, what do we expect to see? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one's pretty straightforward, but it's actually quite useful when you have a list and you don't know how many items are in it. Let's say you were trying to loop through it, which we haven't talked about. Well, how many times does the loop need to repeat? You need to know how many items are in the list. It might have 1 or it might have 100, like in the case of our shopping list. So another way to make a list is to use the list built-in function, which we actually have seen already when I talked about ranges. So remember that if we just ran something like this, let's do make a variable called r. R is range from 1 to 10. And remember, when we looked at r, all we got back was the range itself. So yes, this does represent the numbers 1 through 10 in a sequence. It's not a list. And to make it visible to us, I showed you that you could turn it into a list. I didn't explicitly say we were turning it into a list, but that's what's happening. This is the same as doing str on the integer 3, where it gives us the string of 3. When we do list on a range, it gives us the list version of a range. So this is another way if you need a list of numbers. So you're not just using a range to loop through things, but you actually need the numbers in a list. You can convert a range to a list. And as you can see here, converting this range to a list gives us 1, 2, 3. So this is something we'll see later on. So I'll stop the video here. We have our data in a list, but it's trapped. So in the next video, we'll see a couple ways of getting it out, of accessing our data.